Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Intuitive Mind Solutions podcast. I'm Dr. Matt Breske, your host, and I'm here co-hosting with Dr. Adrian Larrain.
Hi, everybody.
And we have a special guest with us today, and we're looking forward to hearing about his program. We have Dr. DrRyan Doyle, and we are excited to hear about your program. And what we do here on the Intuitive Mind Solutions is we give you a chance to talk about your program, talk about what you're doing out there in the world that's helping people, because supporting people that are out there helping others is something that, our mission is to shine a bigger light on what you're doing. So
love it, man.
So if you want to take the floor and kind of
introduce it away. All right.
Yeah, that's good.
So basically what Men and Women of Iron is, it's essentially for healthcare owners, business professionals that have hit that, what I like to call it, the midlife triangle of chaos. And when most people hear me say that, they have a pretty good idea what I'm talking about. They have a sense of it, but you don't really know it until you really just hit it full on. And the midlife triangle of chaos to me is business, marriage, and kids. And for a lot of people, it's a shit show. Pardon my language. So what happens is, we all have different stories about how life should be going along. The masculine role is kind of the provider. The feminine role is kind of the do everything for everyone else, and then end up resenting everyone because there's no energy at the end of the road. And what happens is we end up with some level of burnout, overwhelm, constant anxiety. It's just this listless, endless treadmill. And for a long time, I literally thought I was the only one that was on that road. For me, I hit a pretty dark pit a couple of years ago, to the point where I actually had people asking me if I should maybe consider going on antidepressive drugs. And what I just realized was I had lost complete sight of where I was going, and I was just in complete survival mode. And like I said, I thought I was the only one, until I recognized that this was just a pattern that occurs in many of our lives when we're busy providing in business. We've got busyness with family and kids and everything else. And one of two things happens. Either the house falls down, or we get clear and figure out the direction that we're going to go, and we figure out the strategies to do so. So that basically was the spark for me. Basically, I almost walked away from my family, my business, my body was falling apart, everything was imploding. And what I recognized was that I couldn't just focus on business. If I wasn't making deposits into my body, if I wasn't making deposits into my family, if I wasn't making deposits into my own fulfillment and filling my cup back up and getting clear on how to do that, basically it sets up a pretty weak foundation. And that's what we teach within Men and Women of Iron. Is the first key that we teach is making sure that you even know how to go from point A to point B and what B even is for you. I think that when I ask people the simplest question of where are you going, a lot of people don't know. So they just stay in a really emotional based world, which is why people get caught up in emotional stuff, why they get caught up in drama, why people go and fight fights that they don't need to be in, because they just have no purpose, no passion, no mission in life. The second thing is that I found that we all want to go somewhere, but few of us actually have the consistent habits enough to actually make it anywhere, other than maybe in one of those areas that I talked about. So developing consistent habits and accountability in order to get there sounds really easy, but most people don't do it. The third piece that we like to teach is really getting crystal clear, not only on where we're going, but on our values and what actually drives the fuel inside of our belly. I had insights. I had an inkling. I had an intuition about what I'm really here for and what really moves me. But it took me 45 years, endless gurus, mentors, personal, professional growth before I was like, wow, it's actually simpler than I thought. But I had to actually get out of my own way, because I was living in, I should do this, I should do that, I should live up to this. I couldn't get out of my own way. I had business partners that were driving in a slightly different direction than I was, and I just felt resistance, and I didn't know why I was just angry all the time when we had such a good thing. It just wasn't fueling me. The next thing that we teach is really, it really centers around the topic of mindset. Matt, when we got on the call here, you're talking about some of the amazing people that you've had the luxury of interviewing, and you've had some great ones on there. Several of them are masters of what we call the mindset. The term mindset has been thrown around all my life. Mindset this, mindset that. But I didn't understand how to control my emotional brain, that primitive fight or flight that goes on when we're in this midlife triangle of chaos. So I didn't have any ability really to focus on the direction that I was trying to choose, because I was literally living in survival mode. So we teach the tools so that our clients can really, really get focused. And instead of living in chaos, it's a way more focused environment. And that really has to be taught. It sounds easier to say it, but it really is. There's a game to be played with the internal world. You get this right, everything else starts to align. But again, I did not understand how exactly I was to go about doing that. Then what happens is we mastermind. So we put people into the right seats with the right people so they can actually get traction aligned in the directions they want to go. And not many of us have grown up, whether it be in school or sports, knowing what a team does. When you focus as a team and you're working towards a championship or something, you know what happens there. But when we try to go lone wolf in life, you start to realize that everything feels like an uphill battle. So doing it with a group of people that is all moving in the same direction or a similar direction suddenly makes things go faster. And so I know you guys have done this, particularly with some of the masterminds that we've been in, as well as other things that you guys have reached out and done over the years. But the reality of it is that I find a lot of people, much like me, I was stuck kind of trying to do it lone wolf on my own inside of my head. And I was reluctant to invest really in myself, in asking people that had been where I was, what the heck did they do? I needed to get out of my way so that I could put myself into an environment where I felt safe to be a little bit vulnerable about the shit that was going on in my head and where I wanted to go and how to get there. And to be challenged and held accountable was something that the little boy inside of me kind of didn't want. So we just put people into the right environments so that they can choose targets that are aligned with their values, fueling them, as opposed to just working harder and harder and harder. I can't tell you how many times I see people go, well, I know how to work hard. And we can work hard right into our grave. And this is the hard part, is that I see this happen everywhere. And that was me for years. Just work harder, Ryan. Just work harder. It even took me the better part of 10 years to actually start doing things that I enjoyed outside of my office, because I felt completely obliged to do things for everyone else except for myself. Anyway, those are some of the key principles of the program that we teach. But like I said, these types of programs really aren't for everybody, because it really takes someone that wants to grow, develop, and have a level of accountability. And it can be a little bit uncomfortable. And I can't even lie. When I finally said enough is enough, I need to get out of the pit and the hole that I was in, I was certainly ready. And it takes some guts and some confidence to be able to move in that direction. So like I said, we challenge our clients, and we don't accept everybody into it. There's definitely a level of vulnerability, a level of guts and courage, and a level of deep desire that people need to be able to step into the programs that we teach at Men and Women of Iron. And so we have a little bit of a process that people need to go through that we call the gauntlet, that forges the men and women of iron, or it weeds them out. So it's, like I said, it's not for people that want to come in and be given everything. We teach what to do and how to go do it to get more out of life. But like I said, it takes some, I'm not going to say steel, it takes some iron, if I can use the term. Anyway, there's the nutshell, my friend. I hope that helps.
So the Freedom Formula, that's a program within the Men of Iron and Women of Iron?
Yeah, so the Freedom Formula is basically the 7-level process that we teach within the Men and Women of Iron. So basically the way that I communicate it, if you want sort of an elevator pitch, is that ultimately my job is to help healthcare owners and business professionals clarify their genius, but also transform the treadmill that they're on into freedom, more money, more fulfillment, more connection. But we do that through a process. I call it a no holds barred, habit-based lifestyle called the Freedom Formula Challenge. It's a 7-level process that forges men and women of iron. So for people that have heard of the Freedom Formula, it's the set of tools that we teach.
Okay. And for that, if people listening want to know more, where can they find out more information about it?
So easiest place is in our group. We've got almost 1,200 members, 1,200 business professionals inside of the Freedom Formula Facebook group. If you're looking for it, freedom is spelled with 2 3s, not 2 E's. So if you're looking for that, you can also search Men and Women of Iron. But the best place is on Facebook. And I'll drop you a link that you can add in later into this matter.
Well, I'll put the link. I already have the link on it.
Cool.
And I will put that on the description of this podcast. The podcast should be on YouTube, and then it'll be on all the other podcast platforms as well. So there'll be plenty of places to find it.
Very cool.
Adrian, you have any questions?
Yeah. Do you, if you would go back, what would you do to prevent that midlife crisis? That triangle of chaos.
It's a good question. It's kind of I don't know that there really is a way of necessarily preventing it. I think that many people just sort of have to drive their own ship for a while, Adrian. And
we do.
Right?
Indeed.
We drive our own ship, and the ship either goes towards the place that you want it to go to, or you hit a wall.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody that's made it anywhere in life has failed a lot, has hit walls, gotten back up, and kind of moved that way. Basically what we do is we just fast track that process. So we make you go through we ask you the hard questions. To be honest, a little piece of me just wishes that I was asked these questions 20 years ago. I just didn't know what the questions were. I didn't know where to find them. And even if I was asked them, I probably ran away from them because I was quite content to live in the day-to-day chaos of life. And I think I found it quite intriguing. So to be honest, the only way you can really prevent it is fail faster.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah, totally right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard when you're alone and you fail though, and you don't have anybody supporting to pick you back up too. And a lot of times that's where people then stay down.
But this is the exact thing, is I didn't know where to go. I think that most people don't know where to go. And just like somebody with a spinal problem that doesn't necessarily feel the sensory deficits yet, so they don't know they have a problem, right? Or that they have a tooth abscess, but it hasn't rotten through to the nerve root yet, right? They're like, no,
Right.
I'm good, right?
Yeah.
I'm good. I got this. This is, I'd say 95% of people, and again, myself included, without some level of strategy and accountability, I find it very hard to believe that most people are truly moving in the direction that they want. They're in some level of survival mode. And I think that sometimes people just need to hit the dark places first. It just is what it is. So I find that, again, just like people that find chiropractors and doctors, mainly when they're in pain, as opposed to proactively asking, how do I stay functional and healthy? You know, unfortunately, a lot of people will find us when they're a complete train wreck.
Yeah.
And
It is.
and that's kind of, you're kind of like the lighthouse.
That's it, man. I mean, sometimes we're there as doctors to be the lighthouse back to just being able to function. Same thing in coaching.
Yeah.
My job isn't to tell you what to do. My job is just to ask you the right questions to guide you back to the fire that's waiting for you on the top of the mountain. That's it.
Yeah, I love what you said on the clarify that you're a genius. I love that. It's super accurate. Yeah.
It's inside of all of us, but sometimes we just can't see it. I've known for years that I'm a teacher. But I blocked myself from that because I told myself I need to do this, or I should do that, or I must do this or that. And, you know, what I find is that doing my coaching and teaching, hell, I'll do this for free because it fuels me.
Right.
It's like, why do people go golfing, or why do people do certain activities, sail a boat? Well, I can't imagine sailing a boat. That sounds horrible. But for some people, it fills them up. It's the same thing for me. If I can just help turn a light on inside of somebody, lighthouse, thank you very much. That's all I need. It's good.
That's awesome. That's really good stuff. And I think a lot of people need that right now, because there is a lot of people without the clarity, and they're looking for that support. They're looking for that, you know, you could kind of say that their boat is crashed and sinking, and what happens is you're in the bigger boat and you drive by next to them, you're like, hey, hop on this boat. But a lot of people, I think a lot of people,
it's that, or people sedate themselves away, man. I mean, the easiest thing to do is just to try to numb what it is that you're experiencing. I can't tell you how many people, myself included, you know, turned into the bottle, or I went and started exercising to almost into oblivion, almost wore my body out doing excessive triathlon training. And I was on top of family and business. I was training 12 to 16 hours a week, which was me just running away, man. I justified the excessive exercise as being healthy, but it was incredibly destructive for where I was, man. We all have sedationary patterns, whether it's drugs, alcohol, excessive exercise, whatever it is. When we get into those patterns, there's something to be said, but most of us don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with your program, do you have, I imagine you have different levels? Like you have an introductory level where maybe it's in a bigger group and then you can get down into one-on-one coaching, or is that?
Yeah, you know what? So my area of expertise is working with small groups. I'm just not a big fan of one-on-one, and I'm not a big fan of just come in and learn, but you're right. So anybody that enters into our group gets all the tools for free. We give them away. You get all the units. You can come and learn. You can have access to the app that we use on a daily basis in order to gamify our life. You get all these things just by being part of the Facebook group. But again, what I find is all the tools are out there for people to be financial geniuses as well. But unless they have somebody hold their hand through it, right? People end up broke, even though all the answers are out there for them. So it's the same thing. I give the tools away, and every once in a while I've got somebody that goes through the entire units and the entire process, and they're just like, thank you, doc. I really needed that program, and it's there for everybody. But the reality of it is that most time we really get where we want to go when we do it, when our feet are being held to the fire. And that's really what we do. Now, within the coaching mechanism, within Men and Women of Iron, I have one more group that I'm going to teach starting in January. I probably only have one spot left for it. And after that, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've got 7 trainers that I'm going to help to support so that they can grow their coaching businesses, and so that I can go and play, if you will, in different groups. So the thing is that my area of expertise is typically in healthcare owners and business professionals, but now we've got coaches that are in the oil and gas industry. We've got coaches that are going into the corporate world. And so that's kind of where I'm going to take this. So as far as different levels was your question? Yeah. Anybody that owns a business or is a business professional is really welcome to come in and just learn the tools. If you got questions, you can ask them in the group. So that's the basic level of things, Matt. After that, then you kind of got to prove your way. People that apply for our what we call the gauntlet or the forge, there's a 2-week process that you have to go through that really challenges your ability to go deep physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you pass through that, then you can join the elite mastermind that we put together for our doctors and professionals, etc. So yes, there are definitely different levels, but we do not exclude people. Everyone is welcome to come and learn the tools, because ultimately, other than some of the some of the stuff in the app that we use for our mindset on a daily basis, the tools are fairly ubiquitous, and they're not just something I've developed. They're all the tools from all of the coaching systems and the gurus and people that I've worked with and under. It's just, I've just put it together and made a process out of it so that it's linear. It just makes it go faster.
Yeah, you got my head spinning now, but something that maybe we can do, because you guys aren't in Europe yet.
We have not come to do live events in Europe, but to be honest, we're moving the process into the corporate world, so into business America. So we're going into businesses and we're teaching them the 7-level process so that companies have a strategy to employ within their people. But whether it's America or the Netherlands, it's we're open to kind of moving in whatever direction. So when you have a group of people that's ready to kind of step into the fire, my friend, you let me know.
Yeah, me and Adrian and our other colleague, we discussed this kind of like creating a forge type idea, like and getting that going, taking a weekend into the Ardennes forest and go through the shit.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we're finished the call, I'll tell you how to do it.
Okay. That sounds like getting right out of the comfort zone.
Ultimately, if you're staying comfortable in life, it's good. No judgment whatsoever. But the reality of it is, for me, is I've always lived life under the premise that when I go out, my uniform, if you will, is going to be torn and shredded and dirty, and every part of the uniform is falling off my body. I don't have the desire to make it through this easily. And so I want to make sure that I do everything that I possibly can to live life to the fullest. And that doesn't involve staying in my comfort zone at all times. So, but like I said, if you want something bigger than what you have right now, it often takes not staying where you're comfortable, man. So
Yeah.
that's part of the process for sure.
Yeah, you can't grow unless you go out of the comfort zone.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Adrian, you got any other questions?
No, I had the same question about the levels, so it's already answered. I don't have more questions actually right now.
Well, we have an opportunity. You know, we can go normally. Sometimes we cut the show, and then we do another episode with a controversial topic to discuss. And if
what kind of topics you got for me, brother?
Oh man, we got every topic you could think of in a box. And I know we've talked before. We've talked over pharmaceutical companies. We've talked over politics and lobbyists. We've talked over religion was one.
Religion, yeah.
And holistic health. All right, I'm gonna
Food,
draw one.
I think.
Food, the food pyramid, education. Okay, I'm gonna draw one out here. Oh.
I'll see what it is. I'll let you know whether my governing bodies will allow me to have this conversation.
Oh, this isn't over the V word. It's not over that. Oh, this is interesting. I don't even remember writing this one down. The Mandela Effect.
Ooh.
Are you familiar?
Well, like the Nelson Mandela Effect?
Yeah.
Like, is that one that you've written down from my previous conversations?
No.
Because I have a completely different view. I call something the Nelson Mandela Effect, and I use that in my conversations. But I'm unclear as to what your definition of it is. So why don't you define it first so that we have boundaries?
So, okay. So, this wasn't my idea to put this on there. Somebody else told me to write this. But from my understanding, it's when in the 1980s that we all thought that Nelson Mandela died in prison, or he died. But in reality, he didn't die. He lived to be until 2013. Is that correct? And so then the whole world population thought one thing, but then the truth was something else.
Okay, so I also call that the Viktor Frankl effect as well. So are you guys familiar with Viktor Frankl?
I will be soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, and both of them had a very similar premise. So it's a topic that I teach within our group. So oftentimes what happens is we go through life, we build up our expectations about ourselves, build up. Okay, we get houses, we get cars, and then all of a sudden, if some crisis hits and we lose the house or the car, our belief about ourselves goes down. Okay, what happens is we go into panic. Now, if you look at Viktor Frankl, he was taken from a wealthy Jewish society, and he was imprisoned against his will. Okay, his whole premise was essentially that you can take everything from me, but you can't take what makes my mojo go and the attitude that I choose going forwards. Nelson Mandela also was in prison for years, and he kept his mission so strong, whether he was incarcerated, being treated the way that he was, or whether he was running a country. Very few people have the ability to have the asset of mindset like those two men, to be able to thrive in horrible conditions and still come out the other way. And the reason why they led countries and survived Holocaust was simply because they were able to see through what was the illusion of chaos that was in front of them. Now, if you apply that to everyday life, We talk about divorces. We talk about losing businesses. We talk about catastrophic injuries. We talk about all the different things that can happen to us and how unglued we become as a result of these things. It's nothing compared to what these guys went through, and that's why they were leading. So my challenge when I talk about, Matt, when I talk about the Nelson Mandela or the Viktor Frankl effect, if you will, is get so clear on your values and the mission that is inside of you that you can live a content, fulfilled life regardless of where you are and what the conditions are. That is a big one.
Yes.
I call that thriving in the midst of chaos. All right? Thriving.
Thriving.
Thriving. You're not surviving, you're thriving in the midst of chaos. And like I said, it's not the easiest thing to do, but when you have the ability, when you realize that you have the ability to choose your thoughts and choose how you are able to choose your attitude and what it is, how it is that you can constructively actualize your definition of success, as opposed to the definition of success that's typically imposed upon us by society, you start to win.
I'm really glad I drew that.
It's a good one, man.
That was a good one.
Really good
You
one.
may have nailed it. I love it.
Oh man, yeah, because I guess now that I think about it, it's kind of like what the cultures will believe versus the truth. The belief systems people put in play is so. To me, it's a huge issue, because that's where we have so much division in the world, is because we can have belief systems that are different, but that actually have the same premise, but they're still fixed on their small parts of the belief system, and then you get these conflicts between people. I think it's pretty much a tragedy.
That's it, man. Yeah, and the tricky part is that I want you to imagine how much of what you have right now, Doc, can be taken away from you before you go into survival mode, before you go into primitive brain reaction, before you go into chaos inside of yourself, before you go into depression, before you step into the emotional world that many people live in. I am saying this knowing full well that I would have I am not immune to this by any way, shape, or form. Like, if certain things that I have worked my butt off to get to right now were taken away, I still have an entitled attitude about life too, man. It's like, I worked my ass off. I deserve. Shouldn't I? Shouldn't I have this? Shouldn't this be taken care of? Shouldn't I? All these different things, these are all just stories that come into our head. But in the reality of it is, if you still have enough food, you're safe, you're dry, those types of things, you can still enact your mission and passion in life and actually be quite happy. But that's not what society dictates at you. The society dictates that you better have about 4 million in the bank. You better have the $1 million family with a boy and a girl. And if you don't have the Rolls Royce and the mansion by the time you're 35, you're fucked.
Yeah. That's the pressure of society that people put on themselves. And what is it in the movie Fight Club? The things you own end up owning you.
Yeah, exactly. I like that line, actually.
Yeah.
Well, you become anything you become dependent on runs you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anything.
and so with your program, I think somehow I imagine you guys find a way to break that down and put person in that mode.
We have a unique ability to do so.
You seem like you could be very intimidating too. So
we have a lot of fun, Matt, and as much as I can be intimidating, I am really just a big baby, and I love to build people up.
You're a teddy bear.
Definitely taking the layers of the onion down so that we can build things back up, though, is part of the process.
Yeah.
Cool.
I grew up in a football family, so I've been a college football player and everything. And you have this very, very a football coach type character, in my opinion, from knowing you at the inner circle. And play hard, work hard.
That's it, man. Get after it, right?
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm really glad I drew that one out, because that was very kind of connecting to, and I had no idea you've talked about that before.
On a regular basis.
Okay, so that's no coincidence. They say they don't exist. Cool. Well, that brings us to the end of the show.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Is there anything else you can think of that I can assist you with?
No, just I'll get all the information. Any information you want to send me that you want me to put to the description of the podcast to support you.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk with Adrian and Joshua, and I think the first step we're gonna do is get a little bit active in your group, because it's something I think us as a team where we're working is going to be useful for us. And
Cool.
As far as in the future, I'd like to have you come visit us. If we can get a forge going, you can.
Buddy, if we can, if you can keep dropping people into the group that are interested in, and they want to go after life, I'll come out to the Netherlands in a heartbeat, my friend. It's been a while since I've been over to Europe, and I would do it in a heartbeat. So let's keep chatting. And
yes.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to come into the group and participate. If you ever want to put something together for your team, I'm happy to do that as well. So you can just cut through some of the shit. Happy to do it.
Because we have, our program, we have our center we're building is kind of a body, mind, soul, and spirit center to kind of get people out of that fight and flight. And most of our clients that we've been attracting are people with the post-traumatic stress. I mean, it's enormous. I would say 75 to 80% of our clients are coming in all with PTSD. And what I'm finding now is the world situation is turning everybody into a post-traumatic stress disorder case.
Yeah.
And the world right now needs programs like this, because we have to get out of that fight and flight. Otherwise, how can we get into that rest and digest and into that healing mode necessary for the survival?
We're just gonna see more disease come out, and it's not a surprise that this is where the world is right now.
Yeah.
We're crushing our immune systems every way, shape, or form, and we can't get out of our own way, man. Great point.
But what is happening is this we all feel this awakening happening, and that's where we have to stand toe to toe, side by side, hand in hand, to be that light that this dark world needs now. And that's kind of the whole mission of the Intuitive Mind Solutions, is to create intuitive solutions to challenges that the world's having right now.
Love it, man. Well, if there's any way that I can continue and support you guys as well, let me know. Okay,
man. I appreciate it a lot. And
yeah, awesome.
Thanks for coming on the show. And everybody, before we go, we always have to say, what do we have to say, Adrian, before we go?
Stay relaxed, everybody.
Stay relaxed, everybody.
You almost forgot it.
Yeah.